No matter what you do, you feel like an outcast, like you could never possibly fit in anywhere, even around the people that you love the most. You're made to feel like you're weird or too different, and that is unacceptable. But you're not meant to be like everybody else. In today's video, we'll talk about why your Aquarius sun is something to embrace and how being different is your superpower. Hola, my beautiful dreamers. Welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name is Marisa LaBlue, and on this channel, we cover everything cosmic advice with everything self-development to become our dream selves every day. If that sounds like something you're interested in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. That way you don't miss future videos like this one. And be sure to follow me on social media platforms for more background astrology and lifestyle content, as well as hit the links in the description below to download my free astrology cheat sheet, see my other astrology guides, or book a one-on-one if you're interested. Today, we're covering everything about the Aquarius sun sign. This is not the same as having Aquarius moon, Venus, Mars, etc. I do have videos on all of those placements that will be linked below if you're interested in watching. We'll start the video with a deeper dive into what the sun means in astrology, because understanding the sun itself as a celestial body in astrology gives you a much deeper understanding of the way your Aquarius sun sign functions. Then we'll go on to cover some of the general traits for someone who has an Aquarius sun. We'll finish the video off with a couple empowering tips, because I like to give you actionable steps to use your sun in an empowering way in your life. That way I don't just drop the information on you and then let you figure out what to do with it. First, let's talk about what the sun means in astrology. The sun is one of the two luminaries in astrology that are considered one of the 9 planets in astrology that shape who we are. The sun is considered the planet of our individual identity and the ego self. The placement of the sun in our birth chart governs our identity as an individual, what makes us unique and separates us from everyone else. The symbol of the sun actually showcases this, as the circle itself represents infinity and everything being intertwined, whereas the dot in the middle represents the separate self. It is through our sun sign that we're able to uncover our personal identity, who we truly are at our core, without the influence of anything or anyone else. It indicates where we find our sense of personal power, purpose, and overall direction in life. The sun gives life, so the sun sign is what gives us life, what makes us feel fulfilled, and what makes us glow. The sun is literally where we derive our life force energy. Now, for the general traits of someone who has an Aquarius sun. It's important to remember that Aquarius is the fixed air sign ruled by Uranus, traditionally ruled by Saturn, and symbolized by the water bearer. Number 1. Aquarius sun's vitality often comes from contributing to something much bigger than themselves. Aquarius rules the 11th house in astrology, and if you're not aware, the 11th house represents community, movements, collective progress, and ultimately the future of humanity. Because of this, no matter what kind of Aquarius you are, introverted, extroverted, whatever, you're often attracted to things that enact social change, such as organizations and causes that contribute to something on a humanitarian level. Ultimately, an Aquarius sun doesn't usually just want to exist in society. You want to help evolve it in some way, in a way that is progressive. Something I've noticed in my own life that I love about Aquarians, and there are different types, obviously. No zodiac sign is perfectly black and white. There is a lot of nuance, a lot of gray area, especially depending on the rest of the chart. But something I've noticed, because I have befriended so many Aquarians in my lifetime, is that there is always something very peculiar about them, something very progressive. They're definitely the type that a lot of times people will think there's something, odd about them, peculiar, but many times this translates into them standing up for social progressive change of some kind. I noticed a lot of Aquarians are heavily supportive of the queer community and queer progress in society, if they're not part of the queer community themselves. Many times they're either from birth not afraid to walk that line, or a big theme in your life revolves around 11th house themes. So maybe a theme in your life was coming to terms with who you really are. Say if you are part of the queer community, Maybe it was coming to terms with the fact that you are queer and you want to be more open about that in your life, where you were previously shamed for it or you had a hard time with it growing up. Now, it doesn't have to be this specifically that was your life challenge, but my point being that a lot of the challenges you face as an Aquarius sun will revolve around something 11th house related. A lot of times I would see it as Aquarians are kind of like a vessel. Even if you don't feel like you're someone who actively goes after change and participates in organizations and rebels against society, it doesn't have to be that dramatic. I see it more so as Aquarius suns being a vessel. The change that we need to see happen for progress for humanity often happens within you in some way. There's an experience you probably had through personal experience that causes you to be part of the change in some way. That is why embracing whatever makes you different or peculiar is key, because you are a vessel for that change. It's kind of like your ground zero and you're kind of where it begins, and you often live as an example of some kind or someone who leads by example in that way. Even if you're not someone who really likes to put themselves out there, because I feel like the Aquarius sun energy can be mistaken as one that puts themselves out there and is very aggressive and progressive, but really, just no matter what it is, you tend to feel the most alive when you're contributing to something larger. The 11th house is part of the quadrant in astrology that deals with outwards change, but not just outwards change, but deeper humanitarian level change, something that contributes to humanity. I know that sounds very dramatic, but it could be just the fact that you post your true self. Say that your family members come from a family that is very restricted and conservative, and no one is allowed to pursue the dreams they want or be who they really are. Maybe you're the person that leads by example and you are brave enough to post yourself as you are, and the family sees what you post, and the family that doesn't feel like they can be themselves, they get power through you to start becoming themselves and get closer to who they really are and the dreams they really want to pursue. That may seem like a small scale level of what I'm talking about to affect humanity, but I believe everything begins on the smaller scale and therefore dominoes into the bigger scale. And Aquarians do so even on a small scale. Or maybe you're an artist and you have the courage to express your art however it may come off. Maybe you have people telling you you won't be successful in it or whatever. And because of that, because you choose to go the less beaten path and actually follow that pursuit, you encourage others to do the same. And when you're encouraging others to actually follow nonconformity, even though nonconformity can be as minuscule as just not going to take this class that everybody tells you should take, or not wearing a certain thing that everybody is saying you should wear to fit in. Even all of that on the smaller scale matters. And this is what I believe Aquarius really tends to live their life as, in connection to that 11th house. Now, the shadow side of that is that you may definitely struggle with feelings of belonging versus following your individuality, because at the end of the day, we're human, and most of the time we all want to find our place in some way. And as someone who lives as a vessel of change, most of the time, whether you like it or not, you naturally stand out. And because of that, you may find that you are outcasted many times, whether it be people purposely outcasting you for whatever reason. A lot of times they're jealous. But whether it's people outcasting you or just you feeling like you are an outcast, even in a group of people you're somewhat comfortable around or you're around all the time, this is a common experience for you. Because of that, you may sometimes start to emotionally detach in order to cope with that feeling. Number 2, Aquarius suns are often here to disrupt and rebuild innovatively in some way. Aquarius's modern ruler is Uranus, which is the planet of rebellion, innovation, and disruption, whereas Saturn is its traditional ruler, which is the planet of structure, systems, logic, and limitations. Because of this, they carry both the energy of structure and the energy of shock. Really, what I imagine in my head whenever I think about the fact that they bring Saturn and Uranus together is that they tend to be like the energy of an earthquake, in my opinion, where there's a bunch of buildings, but they're not built for the earthquake. They're not built with the reinforcement needed for the earthquake. And Aquarius is the earthquake. and it comes to expose where we need to improve, where we need to change, where we need to progress, or where we need to reevaluate something that is not working. Whereas Saturn can sometimes fail to do this. Sometimes Saturn struggles with innovation. So Uranus being like that earthquake energy, it shakes everything up and kind of causes some of it to show its weaknesses and fall in order to rebuild with a new reinforced structure with new earthquake technology so it won't fall the next time around. What I find interesting about this is it creates somewhat of a strategic rebellion nature to Aquarius. And the perfect example of this to me is Paris Hilton. I don't care how you feel about her. That's not the point, but she's a great example as an Aquarius Sun herself of what I'm talking about, because she combined her knowledge of the systems that are currently in place and the way that our world works in order to build her career and then now make a difference through the legal work that she's doing. She put on this character and basically helped use it to build her career as an influencer. Then later on, she started using her influence to not just have fun because she started doing her DJ career, but she also started using her influence to do meaningful work against organizations that mistreat children because of her own story and what she had to endure that was traumatic as a child. Because of this, she's doing innovative humanitarian work, but it comes with the balance of working through and recognizing the systems, which is Saturn, and having knowledge of them, combined with walking your own path and having the willingness to disrupt those structures in some way. And that's what leads you to be able to find the solutions that others cannot see, because you have that forward-thinking mentality with the current systems in mind, which will make you a natural inventor, innovator. A lot of Aquarius Suns are scientists or political figures of some kind. But again, the shadow expression of that can potentially be the fact that you feel isolated. A lot of times trying to make a meaningful change to a system that's in place means that a lot of people are going to judge you for it or consider you weird or over the top or maybe even dangerous. Number 3. Aquarius Suns process life through the mind because they're here to rethink, reframe, and redistribute energy in smarter, more rational ways. Aquarius is one of the air signs, and the air signs are known for how they process things, their thought patterns, the type of ideas they come with, and for Aquarius specifically, it's about their mental innovation. Not only does Aquarius think in more unconventional, inventive ways. But on top of that, because they're connected to the Saturn and Uranus energy, on top of being an air sign, which is connected to the mind, they are able to see life from a perspective that is a lot more removed from the emotions. And this is what gets you guys the reputation of being too detached and unemotional and insensitive. And whereas that can sometimes be true if you're an Aquarius that is in your shadow expression, oftentimes it's not that you lack empathy or sympathy, but it's because you don't see the value in thinking of everything through that lens, especially for too long. You tend to have an ability to remove yourself from that emotional lens and see things through a more rational, innovative lens. So if something isn't working, you're less likely to get stuck in a victim mindset rather than, say, maybe a water sign might. You're less likely to get stuck in wallowing in that victim mindset, and you're more so going to default to a mindset of how can we do this differently? Because clearly what we were doing wasn't working. So how are we going to do this differently? And you can potentially start to set up the path for that. And this is what I meant by redistributing energy in smarter, more rational ways. The shadow expression of that is that you probably have a very overactive mind that creates a lot of mental fog and mental burnout because you maybe are always filtering things through the mind. You think of things in a bird's eye view, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but because you're able to think on this more rational, bigger picture level, that can be really overwhelming because you're almost never present. You're always stuck in a mental loop, in a mental spiral of what can I do differently? Did I do that the best way possible? And not only that, but part of the downside of not being able to really stay in the emotional lens for too long is your emotions are often feeding into your mind instead, and you are intellectualizing them, which adds more weight and more overwhelm to the mind. So this can lead you to sometimes feel discouraged and start to stagnate when you don't know how to get out of the mind and properly channel that mental energy. And this is where learning how to ground yourself and ground your ideas that you have into reality will be very important, because you can definitely get lost in the higher realms of thought and not be able to bring yourself back down when it matters. Number 4, Aquarians do not get enough credit for how loyal and steadfast they are about their own vision and values. Aquarius is one of the fixed signs in astrology, and the fixed signs are known to be more stable, grounded, and steadfast in general. For Aquarius specifically, they hold firm to their beliefs and are deeply loyal to their vision, meaning that they do not easily back down once they feel that they are dedicated to something. And Aquarius shares their axis with Leo, meaning that Leo and Aquarius are sister signs. And I like to kind of see this as a pride axis, what gives you pride and kind of how you channel that and how it plays out. For Aquarius specifically, I definitely feel that they hold a lot of pride in upholding their vision. If someone tries to tell them, I don't think that's possible, you can't do it, it probably makes them want to do it that much more. Because one thing they never want to do is succumb to conformity or succumb to what other people think they should do. And one of the reasons Aquarius is so capable of being so innovative and really making everlasting change is because once they see a better way or a different way to do something, they stick to it. Even when everybody is telling them that they cannot, that it's ridiculous, that it is stupid of them, they will not listen if they are dedicated to it. Because one thing they're going to do is believe in their ability to make something happen, because Aquarius is definitely a very intellectual sign. I would argue that they're one of the most mentally intelligent signs in the zodiac. That's one of the reasons they're often such innovative scientists, inventors, or social figures. Because of that, they're often able to see something that others do not. So even when others are telling them, you can't do that or whatever, that pride I was talking about can get activated, and they have a level of pride in their intelligence. The shadow of that is they can sometimes have a God complex where they think they are the smartest person and no one can tell them anything, and the way they do everything, even if it's messed up, is justified because they're so smart and because they're above everybody. But we're not talking about the dark side of the trait. When they hold a certain level of pride in their mental intelligence, and because of that, their ability to bring something to fruition that others do not believe in, they hold true despite any resistance to bring their ideas into fruition. Now, some darker ways that this trait can express itself is if they have difficulty compromising, because even though they may truly believe that they're right no matter what, there does need to be compromise. On top of that, they may reject tradition and be rebellious just for the sake of being rebellious and being a pain in the butt with no actual purpose behind it. And latching on to that, they can become a contrarian just for the sake of being a contrarian. Number 5. Aquarius is often here to pour valuable divine knowledge and truth into the world somehow. Aquarius' symbol is the water bearer, and if you look at the water bearer physically, it's someone who is sitting above society holding a vase of water and kind of pouring the water as if they're pouring the water onto plants. And what this represents is transferring knowledge, the distribution of energy, and bringing the insights from higher realms down into reality for others to understand. This is why a lot of people who are Aquarius suns or have a lot of Aquarius placements, myself included, often go into divination or esoteric practices and studies, because it's natural for Aquarius to be interested in the farther reaching realms of life. Because if we look at this through the lens of the houses, for example, Aquarius is the second to last house, the 11th house. The last house is the 12th house, the house of Pisces and Neptune. This is where you officially cross over into the spirit realm, outside of physical reality, which is why Pisces themselves and people with Pisces placements can easily get lost in those realms and struggle to face reality. But Aquarius is like the bridge between the physical world and the spiritual world. And the water bear represents the transfer of the knowledge from the spiritual realms into the physical. So they can often feel an importance in not just diving into divine knowledge or esoteric knowledge or even spiritual knowledge knowledge of some kind, but they also tend to feel a duty or responsibility to actually transfer and teach that knowledge. So a lot of Aquarians can even take on the role of teachers or mentors in that way, or healers in divine practices. This is one of the many reasons they get seen as aliens or people who are just not of Earth, because they tend to carry themselves so ahead of their time. They tend to have thoughts and ideas and knowledge that just can't seem to exist in this realm. It can't seem to even just come from human experience alone. It has to come from elsewhere. And a lot of times there's an intuitive aspect to this as well, because kind of like we talked about in Capricorn, how they are the sea goat and that fishtail connects them to the intuitive realms of life. Similarly with Aquarius, which is also ruled by Saturn, which is the logical mind and the limitations, but it also has the water. So Aquarius is more connected to the emotional intuition than people give them credit for. Actually, underneath my Aquarius moon video is one of the videos where I got the most comments out of any astrology placement video of Aquarius moons being moved to tears by the video, because they're like, yes, no one understands me. Everyone thinks I'm so cold, but I just don't know how to really show people what I'm feeling, or it doesn't mean I'm not feeling anything. And Aquarius suns themselves often have that experience. They can often be super aware of what people are going through, and they can often be pained by it, because being the water bearer kind of comes with that innate responsibility of being almost the one who harbors the pain and tries to redistribute it into something better, something that kind of gets rid of the pain or improves it in some way. And this is another thing that contributes to them feeling slightly removed from what we consider the human experience, never quite feeling like they're at home, never quite feeling like they truly have a place. Yet at the same time, even though they feel displaced, they feel a responsibility to care for others in some way. Again, this can showcase itself in a shadow expression when an Aquarius tries to kind of emotionally detach and withdraw into their own world. This might cause them to move more selfishly because they don't quite know how to grapple with these feelings or with the reality of wanting to belong but feeling displaced. But it can actually grow into contempt for humanity because they can feel like they care so much and they see the bigger picture. They might think in ways that are so much larger than life. For example, they might think to themselves, why does everybody throw their trash on the ground? Doesn't everyone know that littering is harming the planet and we need the trees to survive? We need the ecosystem to survive. But because they continuously see humans not act the way that they want them to act in order to care for all of life on Earth, they might actually grow contempt towards humanity and actually become more emotionally withdrawn and a bit more selfish or egotistical in order to protect themselves from the harm that they have felt through humanity's actions. Now, for a couple empowering tips if you are an Aquarius sun or know someone who is. Number one, your difference is your power. So stop trying to conform or translate it properly for everybody else. I truly mean this when I say you are not meant to live comfortably within existing systems, existing rules, and existing trends and expectations. You're truly meant to change them, upgrade them in some way, oftentimes simply by being you. And we tend to think that this means we have to do something monumental on a grand scale. Believe me when I say that there is so much power in simply owning your style. Okay, when I see somebody in public who has a much quirkier, colorful, vibrant style than the average person and they are owning it, I am inspired. I get more inspired to follow suit and be myself. And that may sound silly or dramatic, but you have no idea the power that you have to potentially change someone's life and inspire them simply by being your eccentric self. So whatever it is that constantly nags at you in your soul to be like, do that differently, take that path, that is not there for no reason, and you are meant to embrace that. The more you try to translate yourself and make yourself make sense for others, you are diluting what makes you the most powerful. You have any voice in your head or pull at your heart, but you tell yourself, no, I can't do that because that's not right, that's too unorthodox, or everyone would look at me weird. That is exactly what you need to be leaning into. That is exactly your signal. Number 2, find ways to ground your vision into reality. A lot of times it's not the fact that you lack ideas or things that you want to do, but because you tend to have a mind that is stuck in the higher realms and tends to be quite lofty, and because of that, quite distracted a lot of times, you just need to know how to have grounded direction for your energy. So once you identify that there's an idea that you have or something that you want to do that you're currently not doing, ask yourself, where can I start applying this on a daily basis in a real, tangible way? Because the more that you just sit in a mental process of constantly thinking and planning in your head or visualizing the idea in your head, the more that you're going to grow increasingly frustrated and stagnant in yourself. And you're going to hurt your confidence, because the more that you reinforce the confidence in being your authentic self, your authentic, unique self, is by daily action of showing up as that person and showing yourself that you can do things little by little. That will reinforce your confidence, and over time, you'll become more and more confident in being who you are and following the unorthodox path that you set yourself out on. You become your most empowered, fulfilled self when you not only have ideas, but you find ways to turn those ideas into reality, starting with small steps. And when you don't just have these crazy, unconventional, innovative visions, but you actually find ways to make those visions a reality. Don't forget to leave a comment down below if you're an Aquarius Sun or know somebody who is, because I love to hear about your personal experience. Not only does it help me learn, but I get to know you guys better. Before you leave, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss any future videos like this one. But until I see you next time, thank you so much for being here. I am eternally grateful for you. Adios.